Good afternoon. You're watching the English newscast on Future Television. I'm Yumna Naufal, and these are today's top stories. A 50-year-old man kills his older sister committing suicide in the northern Kisirwan district. Turkey says 32 Turkish diplomats still missing despite being recalled by Ankara in the wake of last month's failed coup against Recep Tayyip Erdogan. And the UN Refugee Agency says that more than 100,000 people have been displaced as Iraqi forces clear territory ahead of the Daesh state-held city of Mosul. Thank you for tuning in. We begin today with a 58-year-old man who killed his sister, his older sister, and committed suicide in the northern Kisirwan district. The National News Agency came with a story saying that the man from the Biaini family shot his 61-year-old sister dead near the Church of Our Lady in Haret Sakhr and then turned the gun on himself. They are from the village of Yanuh in the Jbel district, but there has been no further information yet. Security forces arrived swiftly to the area and opened an investigation into the incident. Prime Minister Tamam Salam says that there are several candidates qualified to become the country's next president other than the nominees whom rivals are insisting on. He was quoted as saying, "We have no solution but to elect a head of state who is capable of restoring order to the political life." He was speaking to An-Nahar Daily, adding that there were 6 or 7 other names beside the circulated candidates who can do the job, falling short of naming them. Marada movement leader Salman Frangiye, who is supported by Speaker Nabih Berri, former Minister Saad Hariri, MP Wali Jamlat, and some independent lawmakers, is standing right now against Change and Reform Bloc Chief MP Michel Aoun in the presidential race. Salam, however, told An-Nahar newspaper that he does not fear a confrontation between the rivals. Homs, one Syria's third largest city, is slowly being rebuilt 2 years after the conflicts between the government forces and rebels ended there. The Syrian government forces reached a reconciliation in Homs, and the large-scale battles stopped in May 2014, but not before the conflict had destroyed numerous parts of the city. Many residents who fled during the conflicts have started to return, and the rebuilding of the city has begun. The United Nations Development Program, also known as UNDP, began working to revive the old city market in June. Some infrastructure and roads have already been restored, and the UNDP plan is divided into 4 phases, and each phase takes 6 months to complete. The current phase, phase 1, is to clean up the ruins in the old city market, and the rebuilding work largely relies on help from residents, and the project itself has created 1,500 job opportunities in the city. One of the 3 schoolgirls who left London in February of 2015 to join Daesh has died, her family lawyer has said. In an exclusive interview with ITN, attorney Tanseem Akunji said the family of Khadiza Sultana had made every effort to bring her back to the UK before they learned of her death in Raqqa a few weeks ago. ITN said she believed to have been killed in an airstrike in Syria. Sultana, who was 16, along with 2 other friends, flew from London's Gatwick airport to Turkey on February 17, 2015. The UN Refugee Agency says that more than 100,000 people have been displaced as Iraqi forces clear territory ahead of the critical battle for the Islamic State-held city of Mosul. Iraqi leaders have repeatedly promised that Mosul, in Daesh hands for more than 2 years now, will be retaken from the militant group this year, though U.S. officials have said that the timeline is unrealistic. Now, aid groups worry that 1 million more could be displaced from in and around Mosul as the operation moves forward. The UNHCR said this week that about 43,000 people have been displaced from the Mosul area since March and 66,000 people from nearby. Another regional news, Turkey said 32 Turkish diplomats are still missing despite being recalled by Ankara in the wake of last month's failed coup seeking to oust President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. 32 of the 208 diplomats recalled to Turkey did not come back to Turkey. Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu told reporters during a press conference with his Iranian counterpart, Mohammad Jawad Zarif, in Ankara. He said Ankara had information that some had fled to other countries using different means, including air travels, in the weeks after a rogue military faction tried to remove Erdogan from power on July 15th. Cavusoglu said that 2 officials working in Bangladesh had fled to the U.S. after being recalled, while another returned to the ministry in Turkey. Some officials asked to remain in the countries where they are working, according to the ministry. Coming up next, the award-winning U.S. arts organization American Voices in Lebanon, and we have the exclusive. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Breaking news, Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump says that when he called U.S. President Barack Obama and Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton founders of the Islamic State, he was just being sarcastic. This, however, ignited fresh criticism of his inflammatory campaign style. The New York real estate developer has previously attacked Obama and Clinton for how the U.S. pulled out of the Iraq after war, saying it helped create the militant Islamist group that has seized swaths of Iraq and Syria.
Talk about different things and what's going on with our government. Our government isn't giving us good protection. Our government has unleashed ISIS. I call President Obama and Hillary Clinton the founders of ISIS. They're the founders. In fact, I think we'll give Hillary Clinton the, if you're on a sports team, most valuable player, MVP. You get the MVP award. ISIS will hand her the most valuable player award. Her only competition is Barack Obama between the two of them. So we're going to make that a little easier process. Hillary Clinton has supported tax increases on the middle class for her entire career. She's voted for higher taxes 235 times in the Senate. I thought it was more than that. That doesn't sound... Think of it. She's voted for tax increases. And by the way, she's proposing a big one today. In her speech, her teleprompter speech, she's got her speeches are so short, though. They don't last long. They're like 10 minutes, let's get out of here. Go back home and go to sleep. 3 days later, she gets up and she does another one and goes back home and goes to sleep. Oh boy, is ISIS hoping for her. Is China hoping? Can you imagine China? They come in, you ever negotiate with the Chinese?
Police has stepped up security, especially on ferries connecting to tourist islands after 2 explosions in southern Surat Thani province. A series of blasts hit 3 of the most popular tourist resorts in southern Thailand, killing at least 3 and wounding dozens just days after the country voted to accept a military-backed constitution in a referendum. This comes just hours after 2 bombs killed 1 and wounded 21 late on Thursday. Police believe the series of blasts were acts of local sabotage and not linked to any international militant group. Police also say they have not found any evidence that the blasts were coordinated or whether they were related to an insurgency in the Muslim-majority provinces in southern Thailand. This August, the award-winning U.S. arts organization American Voices will host over 100 of the region's most talented young musicians for 12 days of collaborative trainings, rehearsals, and performances on the campus of Notre Dame University in Zou. With support from the U.S. Embassy, the Cinquefield Foundation, the Levant Foundation, and private donors around the world, Yes Academy Lebanon affords participants an opportunity to study piano, strings, orchestra, guitar, conducting, composition, and chamber music with some of the United States' finest musicians. We welcome today the Interim Director of Yes Academy Lebanon, Mr. Jacob Paul Volkmar. Thank you, Jacob, for being here.
Thank you for having us. We feel honored to be back here in Lebanon this year.
Thanks. Jacob, before the interview, we talked a little bit about Yes Academy and American Voices. So can you tell us a little bit about the two?
Sure. American Voices was founded 25 years ago and served as a cultural bridge where we brought music to nations emerging from conflict and isolation. 10 years ago, we founded the Yes Academies, which stands for Youth Excellence on Stage, where we bring professors and performing artists from the United States over to give master classes, lessons, and workshops in countries. We've done workshops in Lebanon, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Syria, Sudan, Thailand, and we currently have a festival currently going on in Jakarta, Indonesia, along with Lebanon.
We're actually seeing pictures of the ones in Thailand. So basically, explain to me a little bit how it goes. It's because I know that the The performances that are happening at NDU in Lebanon feature performers from a little bit all over the region.
Correct. So we currently have 115 students enrolled in the Yes Academy, and we offer piano and classical strings, classical guitar composition, jazz composition, and youth orchestra. We have 26 Syrian students, one from Kurdistan and one from Jordan participating in the program.
And usually, how does it work? So they basically interact with American musicians who come here and kind of coach them, and then they basically perform, or does it happen beforehand? How does it work?
Correct. So they apply and they audition to be a part of our program, and we bring in musicians from the United States, and they take classes, private lessons, and master class workshops.
Before the performances, right?
Correct. So they'll meet for a series of 2 weeks, and then it culminates with a final gala concert. So on the 19th, we have a gala concert that features classical guitar and our composition students. And then on the 20th is our orchestra concert.
We'll get to the dates in just one second. I just wanted to ask, is there a reason why in the Middle East, Lebanon was picked?
It was a partnership with the U.S. Embassy and to bring music over to the country.
That's it? Just there's no other reason for you're in Lebanon for the second time. There's no other reason why they're actually here?
This is actually our 8th year of programming in Lebanon.
And working with different. Why NDU though? Specifically for any specific reason, or?
They provide our campuses and support, and we partner with them
as well. Okay. The Yes Academy series of free public concerts are actually open to the public, am I right?
Correct. They're free and open to the public, and we'd love for everybody to come out and watch.
Okay, what can we expect?
So the kids have been rehearsing the last 2 weeks, and on the 19th it will be a classical guitar, and then they've written composition pieces, and our faculty will perform the composition pieces that have been created by our students. And then on the 20th is a classical orchestra concert.
Okay. And the series of concerts opened actually on Wednesday at 7 p.m. How was that first performance?
It was amazing.
What was the feedback? Did you get any feedback at all?
We did. People loved it. It was our Baroque ensemble. They came in a week before the Academy officially started and worked with our professors, and then they gave the concert, and the audience loved it.
And you're going to Erbil next?
Correct.
So what would you say personally, and we're going to end on this, what would you say personally is the biggest difference between, the different cities that you've seen in the Middle East? How does Lebanon differ?
I would say music's the common language that connects us all, and while we don't all speak the same language, music is the common language that connects us.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Was the interim director of Yes Academy Lebanon, Mr. Jacob Paul Valkmar, talking about the performances. You can catch them at NDU starting 7 p.m. and they run through August 20th. Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you.
This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our headlines. A 50-year-old man kills his older sister in committing suicide in a northern Kisirwan district. Turkey says Turkish diplomats, 32 of them are still missing despite being recalled by Ankara in the wake of last month's failed coup against Erdogan. And the UN Refugee Agency says that more than 100,000 people have been displaced as Iraqi forces are clearing territory ahead of the battle for Mosul. Those are your Friday headlines live on Future Television. We're wishing you all a very good weekend. Be safe.